when the man found the alien woman. Her clothes and everything had been stolen. The wind screamed across the empty shore of the dead colony world. Broken ice slid over black sand, and the gray sea moved like a tired animal. No city stood here anymore. No lights. No voices. Only ruins buried under snow and time. Eli Rowan walked slowly along the shore, his boots crunching on frozen stones. He was a human salvage engineer, sent here to search for old machines left behind after the evacuation. The job was simple: find useful parts, mark locations, survive. He had been alone for months, speaking only to his ship's basic system and the sound of his own breath. His scanner pulsed softly on his wrist. Metal fragments, old power cells, nothing special. Eli sighed and adjusted the heavy pack on his back. He planned to turn around soon. The storm was getting worse. Then the scanner screamed. Not metal, not machines. Life. Eli froze. There should be no life here. The planet was listed as empty. He followed the signal carefully, moving toward a cluster of rocks near the waterline. The waves hit hard, spraying ice into the air. Behind the rocks he saw her. She lay half buried in snow, her skin pale blue under the weak light. She was tall and slender, clearly not human. Her body shook from cold, her breathing shallow and uneven. There were marks on her arms and legs, dark bruises and small cuts. She wore nothing that could protect her from the storm. Eli's heart began to race. He looked around quickly. No tracks nearby except his own. No signs of a camp. No ship. Whoever she was, she had been left here to die. His training screamed at him to report and retreat. Unknown species meant danger. First contact rules were clear. Do not interfere. But the wind grew louder and the alien woman shivered again. Eli cursed softly. He removed his thermal cloak, a thick emergency layer designed to keep a human alive in deep space. Carefully, slowly, he wrapped it around her body. Her skin felt cold even through his gloves. She stirred weakly, making a soft sound that was not pain but fear. "It's okay," Eli said quietly, even though he knew she could not understand him. "I won't leave you." He lifted her carefully. She was lighter than he expected, too light. He carried her toward his shelter, a reinforced dome hidden among the cliffs. Inside, the heater activated, filling the space with warmth. Eli laid her on the medical bed and activated the scanner. Symbols filled the screen, strange and unreadable. Her biology was complex, but the machine showed one thing clearly. She was dying. Exposure. Dehydration. Shock. Eli worked fast. He connected warming pads, adjusted air levels, and prepared a neutral fluid that might help her stabilize. He had no idea if it would work on her species, but doing nothing meant death. Minutes passed. Then hours. Outside, the storm raged. Suddenly, the lights flickered. Eli turned sharply. A sound echoed through the shelter, sharp and electronic. The alien woman's body glowed faintly, lines of light running across her skin like hidden markings waking up. An alarm blared. A signal burst into space. Eli's console flashed red. Unknown transmission detected. Power source not human. Range expanding. Eli swore. "What did you just do?" The glow faded, and the woman went still again. Eli shut down the transmitter with shaking hands, but he knew it was too late. Whatever signal had been sent was already traveling faster than any ship he knew. He sat down heavily, staring at her. Someone would come, and they would not come quietly. Hours later, she woke. Her eyes opened slowly, large and dark, reflecting the shelter lights. She tried to sit up, then stopped, confused and alarmed. Eli raised his hand slowly. "Easy, you're safe." She looked at him, her gaze sharp despite her weakness. She spoke, her voice soft but strange, filled with sounds Eli had never heard. He shook his head. "I don't understand." She frowned, then touched her temple. A faint light appeared, then vanished. She tried again. Nothing happened. Her expression changed. Fear. Slowly, she gestured to her body, then around the shelter. She pointed toward the door, then made a tearing motion. "Your things were stolen," Eli said carefully. "I think. She watched his face closely, then nodded once. Her shoulders dropped slightly as if confirming a terrible truth. She spoke again, slower this time. "Leora." Eli tapped his chest. "Eli." They sat in silence for a moment, two strangers on a dead world. Then Eli's scanner beeped. He looked down. Multiple energy signatures entering the system. Not one, three. Large, advanced. Leora followed his gaze and understood instantly. Her eyes widened. She stood up too fast, nearly falling. Eli caught her arm. "No," he said firmly. "You can't go out there." She shook her head and spoke urgently, her voice rising. She pointed at him, then at herself, then made a cutting motion across her throat. "They'll kill me?" Eli asked. She hesitated, then shook her head. She pointed at him again. Eli felt cold despite the heat. "For helping you?" Leora lowered her head. Outside the shelter, the sky began to glow with distant fire. Ships were coming, and none of them were friendly. The horizon burned faintly with the glow of approaching ships. Eli's heart pounded, but he forced himself to stay calm. He moved Leora behind a reinforced wall of his shelter and activated the few defensive systems he could muster. Old mining drones, cobbled together from decades of abandoned equipment, hummed to life, scanning the area. Leora crouched beside him, shivering despite the warmth. Her hands moved nervously, brushing against the scanner panels as if trying to make them work. Eli tried to read her gestures. She was scared, but she was also sharp. Her eyes constantly scanned, analyzing, calculating. Eli spoke slowly. "They'll come. You'll need to stay quiet." She nodded, but her attention was drawn to the instruments. Her fingers brushed against a control panel and a soft hum of energy pulsed through the shelter. Eli froze. He hadn't touched those circuits in years. They were remnants of a planetary defense system, long deactivated. How had she managed that? Suddenly, the shelter shook. The first strike hit, sending dust and sparks into the air. Eli grabbed Leora, pulling her down. Outside, shapes moved across the horizon, three ships, sleek, black, and aggressive. Their energy weapons carved lines of fire through the atmosphere. "Stay down," Eli yelled. He moved to the control console and fired an improvised EMP pulse from one of the mining drones. The nearest ship flickered and shuddered, then continued forward. The pulse had only delayed it. Leora's eyes widened as she saw what Eli had done. She reached out and touched the drone's sensor with one hand, muttering something that sounded like a warning. The drone pulsed differently, its light patterns changing, almost responding to her presence. Eli realized she might be able to communicate with machines in ways humans could not. The second wave of energy strikes hit the cliffs nearby. Rocks exploded, sending showers of debris into the air. Eli shielded Leora, praying the makeshift walls would hold. She leaned close to him, whispering a word he couldn't understand, but her tone was urgent. Eli took a deep breath. He had a choice: stay and risk being destroyed or flee with her in the small shuttle he had hidden nearby. He grabbed the navigation pad and initiated emergency launch sequences. The shuttle door hissed open, revealing a narrow corridor into the freezing wind. He lifted Leora carefully and ran. Outside, the storm had intensified. Snow whipped against their faces, stinging their skin. The ships drew closer, energy beams slicing through the gray sky. Eli stumbled, nearly dropping Leora, but she steadied herself, gripping his shoulder tightly. They reached the shuttle. Eli sealed the door and activated the engines. The shuttle shuddered violently as it lifted off, dodging debris and fire. Leora clutched him, her strange, alien form pressed against his chest. Her breathing was uneven, and he could feel her tension, her fear of what would come next. Once they were in the air, Eli activated the shields and tried to communicate. "Can you speak?" he asked. Leora tilted her head, then spoke again in her language. Eli shook his head. "I don't understand. I need English, or something simple." "Anything you can do to help me keep you alive." She paused, then touched the side of her neck. A faint light glowed briefly, then a small holographic projection appeared between them. Eli stared. Symbols and shapes he had never seen floated in the air. He tried to decipher them, realizing they were navigation coordinates. "They're showing me where to go," Eli said aloud, a mix of awe and disbelief in his voice. Leora nodded, her dark eyes calm now but still alert. The shuttle shook violently. A beam struck the hull, leaving a long scar of melted metal. Eli gritted his teeth and pushed forward, following the coordinates Leora projected. They led to an old network of tunnels buried beneath the cliffs, forgotten and hidden. Eli knew them well. He had used them as a boy for hiding supplies. Now they were their only chance. Inside the tunnels, the shuttle was cramped, but it gave them temporary safety. Eli turned to Leora. "Who are they? Why do they want you?" She hesitated. Her lips moved, forming a word that sounded like envoy. She touched her chest, then gestured broadly, indicating multiple species, multiple threats. Eli's stomach sank. She was not just anyone. She was important, more than he could imagine. And the people coming for her would not hesitate to kill anyone who stood in their way. Hours passed. Outside, the storm raged and the ship searched, scanning every inch of the cliffs. Eli watched the sensors, noting every movement. Leora sat silently beside him, recovering slightly, but her eyes never left the scanner. She was alert, even exhausted. Eli considered their next step. He could not fight all of them, not with what he had. The shuttle was damaged, the tunnels offered limited protection, and he had no allies. Yet he could not leave her to the ships above. He had made a promise, unspoken but clear. He would protect her, even if it cost him everything. Suddenly, a noise echoed through the tunnel. Footsteps, not his, not hers, someone or something was coming. Eli motioned for silence. He held his makeshift weapon tightly, ready to face the unknown. Leora's hand brushed his arm, a silent plea to stay calm. The steps grew louder. A figure appeared in the dim light, tall, cloaked, and armed. Eli stepped in front of Leora, raising his weapon. "Stop! Who are you?" he demanded. The figure hesitated, then lowered the hood slightly. Eli froze. The face beneath was human, but there was something in the eyes, recognition, calculation. "I'm Hask Vale," the stranger said. "I can help you, but time is short. The ships won't wait." Eli studied him carefully. Hask's ship must be nearby, hidden like Eli's shuttle. But could he trust another human? And why did Hask know about Leora? Leora watched Hask carefully, tilting her head. She seemed to sense something in him, a truth that Eli could not yet see. Her hand moved to her chest again, glowing faintly, as if confirming a dangerous intuition. Eli's mind raced. Help from another human could mean salvation or death. One wrong step and they could all be destroyed. Yet staying here meant certain confrontation with the approaching fleet. He had no choice. "Fine," Eli said finally, "but if you try anything, we fight." Hask nodded once. "Understood, follow me." He led them through narrow, twisting passages in the cliffs, moving silently but swiftly. Outside, the storm continued, masking their presence. The faint hum of Leora's life readings was steady now, thanks to the warmth of the shuttle and Eli's care. Hours turned to night. They reached a hidden alcove, a small hangar carved into the rock. Hask's ship rested inside, dark and sleek, weapons hidden but ready. He gestured for them to enter. As they climbed aboard, Leora touched the console, and a soft glow spread across the cockpit. Eli realized she was interfacing with the ship, activating systems even Hask might not have known were present. She had powers beyond human understanding, skills, abilities that could change the balance of any confrontation. Hask noticed Eli's stare. "She's special," he said quietly, "dangerous, but she's also our only chance." Eli nodded, uncertain. He still had no idea whom he could trust, but one thing was clear: survival depended on him keeping Leora alive and moving. Every choice he made from this point on would carry weight, not just for them, but for far more than either of them understood. Outside, the ships continued to sweep the cliffs. Eli gripped the controls, ready to take off at any moment. Leora's hand brushed his arm, a silent signal of readiness. Together, they were about to enter a world where every second mattered, where every mistake could be fatal, and where humans were about to show a resilience the galaxy had never truly measured. The hangar was quiet except for the soft hum of the ship systems. Eli watched Leora closely. She had moved to the control panel, her fingers tracing symbols he could not read. The ship responded instantly, lights pulsing and engines starting. It was as if she communicated directly with the machine. Eli had never seen anything like it. Hask adjusted his jacket and glanced at Eli. "We need to move, fast. They won't stop until they find her." Eli nodded, gripping the controls. Outside, the storms had lessened slightly, but the sky was still dark, lit with intermittent flashes from distant energy beams. 3 ships had followed them from the cliffs, but Hask's maneuvering skills kept them hidden in the jagged terrain. "Where are we going?" Eli asked, trying to keep his voice steady. Hask pointed at a map projected from the console. "Neutral space, far from both human and alien patrols. Once we reach it, we can plan the next step." Leora spoke again, her words broken and strange. Eli tried to follow, but it was difficult. He realized she was giving directions precise and fast. He asked Hask, "Do you understand her?" Hask shook his head. "Not fully, but she's pointing us to safe zones." The journey was tense. Energy weapons occasionally fired from distant ships, their beams tracking them across the rocky surface. Leora stayed close to Eli, her hands brushing against the console, guiding them through hidden paths and ancient tunnels. Her calm presence contrasted sharply with the chaos outside. Hours passed. Eli was exhausted, but he could not stop. Every time he relaxed, a new threat appeared on the sensors. Hask kept watch, scanning and plotting, but even his experience could not guarantee safety. At one point, a large craft descended from above, blocking their path in a narrow canyon. Eli's heart raced. There was no room to maneuver. Leora stepped forward, placing her hand on a panel that glowed faintly. She muttered something, and suddenly a hidden passage opened beneath the canyon floor. Rocks shifted, revealing a hidden route that led them away from immediate danger. Eli stared at her. "How did you?" Leora shook her head. She did not answer. Her eyes were fixed on the sensors, anticipating threats before they arrived. The shuttle moved swiftly through the hidden passages, but the stress was taking its toll. Hask noticed Eli's hands shaking. "Keep focused," he said. "They'll come after us again. They always do." As night fell, they reached a secluded asteroid field. The density of rocks provided natural cover, and the sensors showed no immediate threats. Eli exhaled, relief flooding him for the first time in hours. Leora moved closer, her hand brushing his arm. Her touch was gentle but commanding, almost like she was warning him to stay alert even in safety. Hask monitored the surroundings. "We can rest here, but not for long. They'll find us eventually." Eli nodded, knowing it was true. He glanced at Leora. Despite her injuries, she remained alert, eyes scanning constantly, ready to react. Eli admired her strength, realizing that survival was not just about physical power. It was about mind, focus, and will. Suddenly, the ship sensors detected multiple small ships approaching from different angles. Eli cursed under his breath. "They found us." Leora touched a panel, and a soft blue glow emanated from the walls. Energy shields activated around the shuttle, stronger than anything Eli had seen before. He realized she had not only guided them but had actively enhanced their defenses. The small ships tried to penetrate the shields, firing and maneuvering aggressively. Eli held the controls tightly, guiding them through the asteroid field. Leora's presence seemed to anticipate every movement, her hands on the console predicting threats before they happened. Hours of cat and mouse passed. Finally, the attackers retreated, unable to break the shields or follow through the dangerous asteroid terrain. Eli allowed himself a brief moment to breathe. Hask looked at him. "I've never seen anything like this. That alien, she's incredible." Eli nodded. "Yeah. But she's also a target. We can't let our guard down." Leora finally spoke more clearly. Her voice was slow, careful. "They will not stop. Too many want me captured. You must take me to the council. Safe space." Eli nodded. "I will, but not alone." He looked at Hask. "We go together. No one else." Hask agreed. "It's the only way." The shuttle moved silently through the asteroid field, each rock and shadow carefully navigated. Eli felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. Every decision could mean life or death for Leora, for Hask, and even for himself. After hours of careful navigation, they reached a neutral space station. The orbit was distant, hidden by a ring of debris that shielded it from prying sensors. Eli guided the shuttle inside, docking smoothly. Inside the station, they found a secure chamber. Eli lowered the shuttle and turned to Leora. "You'll be safe here for now," he said. "At least until we plan the next move." Leora nodded, placing her hand on the console one last time. The glow faded, leaving her calm but alert. Eli studied her closely. She was more than just an alien. She was intelligent, strong, and cautious. She had survived worse than humans could imagine. Hask placed a hand on Eli's shoulder. "We need to rest and gather supplies. You've done well so far." Eli nodded, exhaustion settling in. But he knew the journey was far from over. The ships would return, the threats were endless, and every choice mattered. Yet he also realized that humans, when pushed to their limits, could accomplish more than anyone expected. He glanced at Leora. She was silent, her eyes watching the station's sensors. She had survived being stripped, hunted, and abandoned. With him and Hask, she would survive again. And perhaps, just perhaps, they would survive together, proving that human determination could match even the deadliest threats in the galaxy. Outside, the distant glow of approaching ships reminded Eli that safety was temporary. But for now, inside the quiet station, they had a moment to plan, to recover, and to prepare for the next challenge. Eli could not sleep. The neutral space station was quiet, but his mind raced. He watched Leora from across the small chamber, studying her movements, the way her hands moved over the console, the way she reacted to every sound. She had been through unimaginable danger, yet she remained composed, always alert. Humans, he thought, could learn much from her. Hask had retired to another room, claiming he needed rest. Eli understood. He too needed sleep, but the weight of responsibility kept him awake. Leora was more than a passenger. She was a key to something larger, something that could affect countless lives across the galaxy. The station's sensors suddenly beeped, jarring Eli from his thoughts. Multiple ships were approaching, faster than before. They had tracked them to this safe haven. Eli ran to the console, Leora following silently. She touched a panel and a blue glow spread across the room. The shield strengthened, deflecting the incoming scans. Eli realized she was not just reacting, she was predicting. Every ship's movement, every beam, every sensor sweep, she seemed to know what would happen next. Hask appeared behind them, alert and ready. "They won't give up. Whoever wants her is relentless. You need to prepare for their arrival." Eli nodded. He began planning the defense, setting up traps and rerouting the station's systems to create confusion for intruders. Leora assisted silently, her gestures precise and efficient. She did not speak much, but her presence was commanding. Eli could see the intelligence in her eyes, the calculation and understanding that surpassed anything he had encountered. Hours passed. The ships closed in, cutting off escape routes. Eli's heart pounded, but he forced himself to stay calm. Every decision was critical. Leora remained by his side, guiding him with her strange gestures and glowing symbols. Finally, the intruders breached the outer perimeter. Security alarms blared. Eli's hands moved quickly over the controls, activating defensive turrets and automated drones. Hask provided cover, firing when needed. Leora's focus was unwavering. She touched the console and the drone's efficiency increased, targeting enemies with a precision humans could not achieve. The battle raged for hours. Ships fired, beams sliced through space, explosions rocked the station. Eli moved with determination, his human ingenuity and stubbornness keeping them alive. Leora's alien abilities complemented his actions, creating a team that was greater than the sum of its parts. During a brief lull, Eli looked at Leora. "Why are they after you?" he asked. She hesitated, then placed her hand on her chest. The glow appeared briefly, then vanished. Eli interpreted it as a confirmation. She was important, a political envoy, a key figure whose capture could spark conflict. The implications hit him. Not only were they fighting for survival, but also for peace and order that humans had never been part of. Another wave of attacks hit the station. Eli and Hask worked together, coordinating the defense. Leora's guidance was invaluable. She pointed, instructed, and anticipated movements. The combination of human determination and alien skill created a defense no one could easily overcome. Hours later, the attackers retreated, unable to penetrate the defenses. Eli exhaled, exhaustion washing over him. Leora remained calm, eyes scanning the sensors, always alert. He realized that her survival depended not just on strength but on awareness, intelligence, and trust in those who fought for her. Hask looked at Eli, nodding. "You did well. We survived thanks to both of you." Eli nodded, feeling a sense of pride. Humans had limitations, yes, but determination, courage, and ingenuity could overcome them. He saw it in himself, in Hask, and now in Leora. Together, they had survived against overwhelming odds. Leora spoke again, her words slow and deliberate. Eli tried to understand. "Council," she said. He interpreted it as a safe place, a destination where her importance could be recognized and protected. The journey was not over. They prepared the shuttle for departure, repairing systems, refueling, and gathering supplies. Eli worked tirelessly, knowing that the next leg of the journey would be even more dangerous. Leora assisted, her alien knowledge making complex systems work with ease. Hask provided tactical advice and stayed alert for threats. As they prepared to leave, Eli glanced at Leora. Her gaze met his, filled with calm determination. He understood something vital. Humans could endure anything, adapt, and overcome. And together they could face dangers far beyond their home worlds. The shuttle lifted off, leaving the neutral station behind. Outside, the void of space stretched endlessly, filled with unknown threats. Eli held the controls firmly, guiding them toward the coordinates Leora provided. Hask sat beside him, ready for anything. Leora remained in the cockpit, interfacing with systems, guiding them with unmatched precision. They were far from safe, but for the first time, Eli felt a sense of purpose beyond mere survival. Humans had limits, but their resolve could change outcomes. Leora's presence was a test, a challenge, and a lesson, and Eli was ready to face it, no matter what came next. As they navigated the stars, Eli knew the universe would test them repeatedly. But he also knew one truth. Human determination, when combined with courage and loyalty, could stand against any force, no matter how powerful. And for Leora, he would fight, endure, and survive. Humanity, in its resilience, had become something far greater than the galaxy had expected. The shuttle moved silently through space, its engines humming steadily. Eli kept his eyes on the navigation display, following the coordinates Leora had provided. Hask monitored the sensors, alert for any approaching threats. Leora sat quietly beside them, her fingers tracing the panels, her eyes focused, calm, and calculating. They had survived the storms, the attacks, and countless dangers, but Eli knew the most critical moment had yet to come. Leora needed to reach the council, a neutral authority that could ensure her safety and prevent conflict between multiple species. Every second mattered. Eli glanced at Leora. She was quiet, but her presence was commanding. Even after everything she had endured, stripped, hunted, abandoned, she remained composed. He felt a deep respect for her resilience and intelligence. Humans had endurance, yes, but it was often untested in ways she had faced. Hask broke the silence. We're nearing the outer perimeter. Scanners show patrols. They've increased presence. Whoever wants her won't give up. Eli nodded. We'll have to be careful, no mistakes. The shuttle descended toward a hidden planet, cloaked in shadows and debris. Leora touched the controls, and the ship's shields strengthened, blending with the darkness around them. Eli realized her abilities were not just useful, they were vital. She guided them through narrow passages in the atmosphere, avoiding patrols and detection. Hours passed. The tension was unbearable. Every signal, every blip on the scanner could be a threat. Yet Leora remained steady, guiding them silently. Eli understood that her survival depended not just on strength, but on awareness and anticipation. Finally, they reached a secure landing zone near the council station. The environment was strange but calm. Eli guided the shuttle down carefully, ensuring it landed without drawing attention. Leora's hands moved over the controls, confirming security systems, activating protective measures. As the shuttle doors opened, Eli felt a strange sense of relief. They had made it. Not entirely safe, but they had reached a place where decisions could be made, and where Leora could be recognized for her importance. The journey had been perilous, but humanity had proven its value once again. Council representatives approached, neutral beings of various species, observing with curiosity and caution. Leora stepped forward, her posture confident but cautious. She communicated with the council, providing information and confirmation of her identity. Eli stood beside her, feeling the weight of every choice that had led them here. Hask remained alert, scanning the surroundings, but he allowed himself a small smile. "We made it," he said quietly. Eli nodded. "Yes, but this is only the beginning." The council acknowledged Leora's presence and authority. They offered protection, resources, and support. Eli realized that the actions of humans, courage, ingenuity, and loyalty, had earned a place in the galaxy's complex balance. Their determination had altered perceptions, showing that humanity could stand against forces far stronger than themselves. As the shuttle was secured, Eli reflected on their journey. The universe was vast, filled with dangers and unknowns. But humans, when tested, could endure, adapt, and rise to challenges. Leora's survival had depended on their efforts, but in turn, they had discovered the strength within themselves. Eli turned to Leora. She looked at him, eyes calm, acknowledging the bond formed through peril and shared determination. He understood that trust, courage, and resolve could transcend species and circumstances. Hask patted Eli's shoulder. "You've changed things, Eli." "Humanity is no longer underestimated." Eli nodded. "We only needed a chance to show it." Leora's hand brushed his arm, a silent acknowledgement. They had survived, but more importantly, they had proven something greater. Humans were not just fragile or weak. They could endure the impossible, protect those in need, and rise above overwhelming threats. As the council secured the station and prepared for diplomatic communications, Eli, Leora, and Hask knew the universe had shifted. Humanity had earned recognition, and the galaxy had witnessed the value of determination, courage, and loyalty. Eli looked at the stars outside the station. Endless possibilities stretched before them, unknown challenges waiting. But for the first time, he felt confident. No matter what came, humans would face it. They had survived storms, attacks, and alien threats. They had protected the vulnerable and shown strength beyond expectation. Leora's presence was a reminder of what humans could achieve. Not through power alone, but through courage, ingenuity, and the willingness to risk everything for others. Eli understood that their journey was far from over, but he also knew that humanity had a place in the galaxy, a recognition earned through action, resilience, and determination. The shuttle rested, systems secure, and the council prepared for what would come next. Eli, Leora, and Hask stood together, ready for the future. Humans had faced the unimaginable, survived against odds, and proved their value. And as they looked toward the stars, Eli knew one truth above all. Humanity, when determined, could endure anything, protect anyone, and rise above any challenge the universe would throw their way.